welcome our wonderful incursion of In My Pocket. We've got Jill Rabinowitz here and Eli at the back, and their wonderful helper Marcel, who's come to help us today as a volunteer. And we're just going to pass over to you, Jill, straight away.
Yeah.
And we hope you enjoy and learn something new today.
Now, I know that Mrs. Galanti has given you lots of information about the background to the In My Pocket story itself. So I'll be repeating some of it just so that it consolidates what happened during that time in history. So today you're going to be hearing a true story, which means it really happened to children your age and even younger who had to flee their homeland, which was Germany in Europe, because they were in great danger. The Second World War was looming, World War II, and parents were becoming extremely worried about what was going to happen to their children. Now, in Germany, the Nazi government had taken power in 1933, a long time ago, and had introduced racist laws which discriminated and eventually persecuted people of a particular religion. Now, we all know that is the Jewish religion. And it's the Jewish parents who became so worried about what was going to happen. All their rights, their freedoms, their privileges, their expectations as citizens of Germany had been stripped, had been taken away because of their religion. Now, we all know, because you've learnt it in Hass, or you are going to be learning it in Hass, that in this country, if you're a citizen, you have these rights and privileges and expectations, and you are treated fairly. You don't have your religion as a reason for your citizenship to be stripped. Everybody's free to practice their own religion. We know that. Back in England and Scotland, a huge rescue mission was mounted to try and save as many children as possible, Jewish children, from the clutches of the Nazis. This mission was given a name. It was called the Kinder Transport. Kind in German means child, and that's where we get Kindi from, and you know the little chocolates, Kinder Surprise, also from the word kind, meaning child. So the Kinder Transport, as Mrs. Galanti would have told you, was going to save as many children as possible, bring them across to live in England or Scotland, and be looked after by parents there. We are going to be looking at a story that was written by one of those children who was able to escape on the Kinder Transport to safety. Eventually, she went to Scotland. That's the country that's north of England, and I'll show you on the map where everything is. So her name was Doris Sim, and she wrote this book, In My Pocket, about her escape from danger. Now, I'm going to ask you questions. You can shout out, you can put up your hand, I don't mind, as long as you say it loudly so everyone can hear. There are no really wrong answers to the kinds of things I'm going to ask you, because they're about how you feel when you read the story. So this little book is written by a person about their experience. Do you know what that kind of book is called? It begins with an A. Anybody know? Yeah, that's it. This is an autobiographical picture book. And now you might be wondering, oh, I'm in year 6, what am I looking at picture books for? They're for babies. You are going to be amazed at how you can infer, which means read between the lines and find deeper meaning, how you can infer meaning from the text, the words, and the illustrations in a book. And that's why we're studying it as a picture book. And we're going to see how the illustrations reflect how the characters feel and what the mood is. When you get to high school, these things are really very important when you are studying particularly novels and poems and stories and all that kind of thing in your English lesson. So, In My Pocket by Doris Sim. Right, a little summary at the beginning of a book. You know what it's called? It begins with a B. Yes, blurb, that's right. Let's read the blurb of In My Pocket. I was 7 and a half when my visa was stamped on the 26th of July. She was 7 and a half, little Dora. Let me tell you, I think Mrs. Galanti would have told you as well, that only children were allowed to go on the kinder transport. No parents were allowed. This was because there was an agreement between the British government, who allowed all these children to come in, and the Germans, who let them out. Her visa, this is her passport page. Look there, that's the Nazi stamp, that eagle that they used. 26th of July, so let's get the dates right. The kinder transport, they left Germany and some of the surrounding countries at the end of December 1938. The Second World War broke out on the 1st of September 1939. So really only 10 months. Because once the war broke out, they couldn't do the kinder transport. It was too dangerous. And the Germans wouldn't let them out. 26th of July. So she was one of the very last children on these kinder transports. There were almost 10,000 children like me who came to the United Kingdom. That's England, Scotland, Northern Ireland and Wales. It's called the United Kingdom. Before World War II began. Some of us were babies. Most of us were Jewish. We were each given a place on a kinder transport out of Nazi Europe. After the war, some of us were reunited with our families. Sadly, many of us were not, and we either stayed in our new countries where we grew up, or we went to live in different countries all over the world. So we are dealing with refugee children escaping danger, escaping a war. The world is full of refugees today. These were the Jewish ones from the Second World, just before the Second World War. Okay? Right, so that you know where everything's taking place. There's Australia, and up here is Europe, where the war was about to break out. This is what the map looked like at the time. Here you've got Germany, the red country, flanked by France, Poland, there's Italy, Belgium and the Netherlands, and up here, that's the United Kingdom and England and Scotland. England's also called Britain. Got lots of names for the same place. So, everyone comfy? Let's begin the story. Hardly anyone on the boat ate breakfast that morning. It was 1939, it was July, and we were on a boat full of children escaping from danger. Second World War is looming. Persecution of the Jews is getting worse and worse. Parents are putting their children onto the kinder transport where they can. Now, I want you to look at little Dorothy, because that's her on the boat. What she got clutched under her arm? It's a little plush toy. It's actually a dog. And what's on top of her head? Can you see? The red bow. We are going to see the red bow and the toy dog given to her by her parents with lots of love. Can you imagine saying goodbye, putting the ribbon in her hair, giving her the toy dog to remember them, to keep her comfortable and comfort. We're going to see the toy dog and the bow act as what we call motifs, symbols. These are words that you might have already learnt, but you will definitely use them as you're moving forward with your education. So the motif is an object in a story which binds everything together, the strands of a story, and they bring together the themes and the ideas and the values of the story as well. So watch out for the red bow and the toy dog. Back at the Hamburg train station, a train had been waiting to take us to Holland, to the boat. So, Hamburg, which country? Where does our story start?
Hamburg.
In Germany, that's right. So Hamburg is a big city in Germany. The kinder transports, a lot of them, the trains left from there to go over to England. Holland, who knows what Holland's called now? Begin with an N. Netherlands, yes, it changed its name. Mutti and Vati, that's mum and dad in German. Told me the boat would take us to a new life. All the parents cried. We cried too. Can you imagine the atmosphere on that train station? Everybody hugging, kissing, crying, wondering when they're going to see each other again. Here's little Dorothy with her red bow and the family saying goodbye, holding hands. But what I want you to look at, everyone, remember when I mentioned about the illustrations reflecting the feelings? Look at this train. Huge, big, brown, menacing, scary. What do you think it's showing us about how they're feeling?
Worried.
Yes, worried. Sad, I heard someone say. What else? Can you?
Scared.
Yes, scared. Very much so. Can you imagine the noise it's making? So that atmosphere, that mood on the train station is reflected by the way this train has been painted. Not a happy sight at all, is it? The way it's huge like this and big and powerful in the front of the page. One little girl cried the loudest of all when she dropped her toy dog. It lay on the tracks. A man rescued the dog. He called catch as he threw it to her. Right after she caught it, the train began to move. The girl stopped crying, clutched her dog, and waved goodbye to the man. So that's little Dorothy who's dropped the toy dog. Now, I want you to look at the action of this station man. Okay, what kind of act was that he did? Kind. You all picked it up straight away, of course. Kind. We are going to see kindness. And what's the word that also means kindness begins with an E?
Empathy.
Empathy, that's right. We're going to see kindness and empathy as the main values of this story. We're going to see people performing acts of kindness right the way through. You know, that man, and this really happened, it's a true story. She dropped the dog and it dropped down onto the tracks in between the platform and the train, and he did jump down in between, which would have been pretty dangerous.
You can see he's like still.
Yeah, he's lower down, he's right there, because he did care. He understood the value of this dog for her and how important it was, you know, to give her the comfort. Did you all have teddies and dolls and toy things like this when you were small? Of course, everybody does. It gives them comfort and security. Now, we know that's Dorothy because she's got her red bow on. But what are they all wearing around their necks? Yeah? Tags. What? Numbers.
That represent who they are.
Who they are. Numbers. And also what else would it have besides number? Name. One more thing. Yeah?
Age?
Yes, the age, the birthday. Yeah. They needed that number because they had to be matched with who they were going with, and there were lists of who was going to be on the transport. Okay. At last, the train stopped. A big boy said we were in Holland. We sat in a green field and ate cheese sandwiches. We sang songs to the Dutch people who helped us. One song was about a mermaid. They gave us milk and chocolate. Soon we were on our way again. Now, you're reading the book and you turn over the page and whoa, this is what you see. Do you think the mood has changed?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Why and how? What do you see now? Who wants to tell us?
Right.
Yeah,
They're in a happy field and they're like, oh, having fun.
they are. And how do you know?
Because they're eating their toys.
Yes, and they're smiling. And you get this relaxed feeling. I mean, Doris even put down her toy dog. Yes,
Bright colours.
the bright colours. And what are they?
Like happy colours.
Happy colours. Yellow,
Green.
green, blue, colours of happiness. And what are our visual clues? You've already said some with the bright colours. The visual clues that we are in Holland or the Netherlands.
Have a look closely at the picture, everyone.
Pardon?
They're smiling.
They are?
The windmill.
Of course, you're right. The windmill. Who knows what kind of flowers they are? Beginning with a T, not a P. Yes, they're the tulips. It's the national flower. The green fields. I must tell you that Queen Wilhelmina, she was on the throne of Holland or the Netherlands at the time, and she herself used to come down to the fields when they stopped to have their picnics and help feed the children and comfort them and play with them. So we can say that Wilhelmina and the Dutch people are Dutch when they come from Holland, are performing acts of kindness. One other thing I want to ask you. This is a little picture book. Why do you think Dorrit specifically mentions the kinds of food that the Dutch people gave them? What's so important by actually telling us? Yeah.
Because it wasn't like bad, gross food. It was like good.
Good food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you agree? Yeah, it's nourishing food and luxury items. Milk, chocolate, sandwiches, cheese. You know, these children have come from a war zone. And we know part of the deprivations that the Jews suffered was that they couldn't get food. So here we have this wonderful food that the Dutch people have given them to eat and to nourish them, help them feel better. Right, okay. On the boat, it was strange sleeping without our parents. Only brothers and sisters knew anyone. In the night, some children got lost. They left their cabins to look for the bathrooms and could not remember their way back. So here we have the children trying to do normal, ordinary things like putting on their pajamas. But this is where I want you to think more deeply, read between the lines, find another meaning, and could not remember their way back. What do you think it's really telling us? Yeah.
That the place is massive and
That it's telling us that already some children couldn't find their way back. What else is it telling us? What's the deeper meaning?
All the rooms look exactly the same.
Okay, and what else?
put your hand up if you know.
Anyone?
Time.
They forgot what happened in the war.
And what else? Could not remember their way back. Where? Home. Will they ever find their way back home? Where everything is familiar and where they're not lost. There's your clue, the word lost. That's how you read between the lines and you find what else it's trying to tell you. What also happened was that Dorrit was in a cabin on the boat with a brother and a sister. Now she was an only child. Imagine how lonely she felt. Here's this brother and sister, they were together. Apparently the sister gave all the attention to the baby brother and they didn't take any notice of her at all. So it was pretty hard for her. Okay. Then it was time to leave the boat. We wore name tags around our necks. There was a wooden bridge. Looking through the slats of the sea made me dizzy. I didn't want to move, but everyone behind pushed me. I shut my eyes and held the rail. I shuffled forward with my eyes closed. At last, my feet touched the ground, and that's when I started to cry. So, touch the ground, reality. Reality has hit. This is Dorrit, she's by herself. No longer going to be part of this group of refugees. It's up to her now. I want you to look at Dorrit. What's she carrying? A suitcase. Who do you think would have packed that suitcase for her? Her parents. And what do you think they put in it? What would a little girl bring?
Clothes.
Yeah? Clothes, definitely. A little bit of food, maybe. Toys? Anything else?
Photographs.
Yes, that's it. So, she would be carrying, and they would all be carrying practical items like their clothing, their toiletries, some shoes, whatever they need for a journey. But they'd also be carrying the sentimental items like the photos, yeah, maybe little mementos, maybe some letters. So the suitcase is the first idea that we have of what we call a receptacle, something you put things into. And when you want to take them out, you open it and you take things out. Like that's what you do with a suitcase. Look at Dorrit. Have you noticed anything about her red bow and her toy dog? What's happened to them? Yes?
It was a bit down and
Yes.
didn't feel that right.
Yeah.
I feel like they've lost like many people.
Yes, that's right. So they've lost their colour. They've lost their vibrancy. Because that's exactly how she's feeling. The dog is very, very droopy, reflecting the sadness, the worry, the how frightened she must be getting off this boat. So there again, we've got illustrations reflecting feelings. Okay. A train stood ready. Someone said it was a British train, Britain is English, taking us to London. Many people were there. Some children had friends or family to meet them. Others looked around for help. There were men with cameras and people holding photographs. Those people had promised to take children into their homes. The children would be part of their families until they could be with their own parents again. So, that means the expectation of allowing these children to come into Britain, into England, was that they would go back again until they could be with their own families again. Here we have the group representing the Kindertransport volunteers. Look how their arms are outstretched, showing acts of kindness. The Kindertransport, can you imagine how many volunteer families they would have needed to look after all these children that are coming? And they didn't know how long, at this stage, how long it was going to last. We know now it only lasted 9-10 months. So many volunteers and a lot of money was needed to bring these children across. Here's Dorothy, waiting to see what's going to happen to her. I want you to look at this train station, everyone. It's called the Liverpool Street Station, and it was in the heart of London where they arrived. Look at how the columns are reaching up and how the light is streaming through the beams at the top. We've been there, we've seen it, it looks like that. Giving this sense of hope and expectation for everybody that things are going to be good. Who do you think the men with cameras are? Yes, they are. They're the newspaper photographers. They took lots of photos. They needed to splash these photos all over the world so that people would come forward and say, yes, we'll look after children, or here's money to help bring them across. Right, okay. A man and a woman looked at a photograph. The wife touched her husband's arm. Look, she said, the child we picked, the girl with the red ribbon and the big toy dog. That's how they found me, Dora. So her identity has been established now, her individuality. This is her. And that red bow is identifying her for everybody. And that's how they knew who she was. I want you to look at the man. Okay? He's gone down on his knees. Why do adults do that? What's it supposed to make her feel? Okay. Did you say? Yes?
So they can talk at like the same level.
Yes, and how does that help? Yeah?
So that she doesn't feel like intimidated.
Yes, intimidated, that's a good word. If he'd been standing above and talking to her like that, she could feel pretty intimidated. So he performed an act of kindness, that's right. These are going to be her foster parents. You can see how smart they are. Look, she's wearing a fur around her neck. And yeah, you know, it's like war hasn't touched them where they are. A man with them spoke German. He said, Willkommen, schöne Kind, which means welcome, beautiful child. Aren't those beautiful, kind words? All I could say in English was, I have a handkerchief in my pocket. That's how I began to teach myself. Whenever I learned a new word, I put it in the same sentence. I have a dog in my pocket. I have a house in my pocket. I have a teacher in my pocket. This was her strategy. Can you imagine learning Hebrew like this? But you know, she did that. It helped her. But are these words literally going into her pocket? No, we know that. Where are they actually going? I want you to point to the place where those new words are going. Yes, of course. Up there, into her brain. The brain is acting like a pocket. We have a simile there. Just like a suitcase, she will take out the new words when she needs them. It's taking care of these words, it's putting them there for safety. And of course, it's not just new words that are going into the brain, it's all the new experiences, everything new that she has to learn. Now, the man has put his hand on her shoulder. What do you think it's got got to do with the dog? What's the connection? Yeah?
Maybe she finds the dog scary.
Of course, yes, and he's trying to comfort her and reassure her, don't worry, the dog's not going to bite. It's highly unlikely that where she's come from in Germany that anybody had a pet dog. Could barely feed themselves, let alone pets. Anybody know what kind of dog it is? And don't guess. Put your hand up if you know. Anyone in this class? Yeah?
Terrier?
Yes, of course, it's a terrier. It's called a Westie because it came from Scotland. She was a female dog and her name was Rogie. So you can see Doris looks a little bit nervous. At this point, I want you to look at the fact that she's still wearing her tag. She's still got her bow in her hair. And what else is she wearing? What's this? Brown. The brown one. Yeah, well, it's actually a coat. Yeah. Up to this point, we've only seen her with her brown coat on. You know, she's wearing it. It's keeping her safe. It's keeping her warm. You know how it is when you're feeling a little bit unsure, you put a coat on and it helps you, gives you comfort as well. So, we've seen the man, who's part of the family that she's going to live with, do 3 acts of kindness. Can you remember what they were? Yeah?
Bend down on his knee.
Yeah, he went down on his knees to talk to her face to face so she wouldn't feel intimidated. Yes? Yes, hand on the shoulder to reassure her, don't worry, the dog's not going to bite.
Call her like a beautiful child.
Yes, and he spoke in German. Spoke to her beautiful child, that very kind words. Okay? The man and the woman came from Scotland. So Scotland's just north of England. Everything was different. In Germany, I sat on a little seat on my father's bike. In Edinburgh, where they lived, there was a car, and I had a real dog. So she's starting to make all these comparisons with how life was like then, in the past, and what it's like now. Look at the way the artist has portrayed the dad on the bike, so huge in the front of the page like this. Do you think it means something that he's done it like this? What's it telling us about her? What do you think?
He reassured her that like she was like safe and like okay at the time. So like they probably doing as big.
Yeah.
Just like someone who's leading.
Yes, that's right. And what else? What do you think?
That she's like feeling small.
She's feeling small, and this is a huge memory as well. So she's starting to make these comparisons. First thing that strikes her, of course, is that she's going to be going up to Scotland in that car. It was called an Austin 7. So she's going to turn her back on the old world, the old life, and drive all the way up to her new life in Scotland with a dog and a car. Is she still wearing her tag? No, she's been claimed. Has she still got her red bow?
Yes.
So she's worn it. It's been part of her life, her days, all the time. Okay? And did I ask you about the coat? Yes, she's still wearing her coat. Okay.
Where's the dog? Where's the dog?
Yes, where's the dog? Good question. Let's see. She had a real dog. Yeah. In Germany, I couldn't play with the children in our street because I was Jewish. Now I played with my new Scottish friends. Soon I was calling the woman and man Mummy and Daddy. After all, I called my real parents Mutti and Vati. I want you to look at this picture. Okay, we can see what they're doing. You can see their 4 children right there in front of us. But it's what these 4 children and what they're doing represents. That's what's important here. And that is what I mean by looking more deeply at an illustration to see what the message is. What are the values that are being expressed? So, look at them. On the top of your head, what do you see there? Put your hands up. Tell me. Yeah.
Children like happily playing.
Happily playing. Yeah. What do you see?
She's finally getting included into some sort of game or like something that like includes other children.
Yes, you all hear that? The word included. Well done. What else do you see? about this?
Holding
Holding hands. What does that mean?
trust.
Trust. Excellent word. So we've got included, we've got trust. What else? Happy. We've got happiness. Anything else? No wrong or right answers. You're just looking and interpreting. That's what you do. Yeah?
They're smiling.
They're smiling. They're happy. Right. What else? Yes, some more?
In the background, it shows like that it's dark and like there's light onto this side. And it's showing that she finally has some hope that there's something better in this part of the world.
Yes, that's right.
I was waiting
Absolutely.
to see if anybody would notice the background.
The bricks. Yeah, the bricks are very important here because they suggest something. They symbolize something. The darkness of the past, those dark bricks and how it was, moving towards the bright bricks of the future and the happiness that's ahead and that she feels now. Okay, so to sum up, we have the 4 children.
Can I say one thing?
Yes, please say.
She's not wearing her brown coat.
Yes, she's taken it off. What does it mean, Mrs. Ben?
It means now that she's, as Patrick said, shedding her old life. It's been included with the children in her new life, and it's a beautiful blue dress. So
Yes.
a happy colour.
And the way her hair is flowing, also the way the dress is flowing, shows the freedom she's feeling now. Oh, she can take off the brown coat. Good. Anything else the teachers like to add? Okay, so we have the children holding hands, as you said, trust, which is very important because when you're with a group of friends and you trust them, they've accepted her. There's now this sense of belonging in the circle of friendship. There's a circle and they're all dancing and laughing and smiling together. They've included her, as you've said. In the past, she couldn't play outside. That was one of the laws that came in, that the children had to stay indoors. So she didn't play with anybody. Now, doesn't matter that she's a refugee girl, doesn't matter that she's Jewish, doesn't matter that she can barely speak English. They have made her part of their group and have accepted her. We mentioned the bricks. It's almost like she's being pulled towards that happy place in the future. What about the fact that she, Dorothy, is now calling the new parents Mummy and Daddy? Not the other way around. She is calling them. Yeah?
She's like feeling more connected.
Yeah, good word, connected. Right. That she feels safe enough and she feels loved enough that she can call them Mummy and Daddy. She's still got Muti and Vati back home. She's not denying her heritage and her real parents. They're not expecting her to give up. Can you see what's happened to the bow? Is it very?
It's very bright.
Yes, it's very bright. It's shining.
It's vibrant.
Yes, it's vibrant. Good word. So, showing that she now feels happy again. We have seen how this red bow, from the very beginning that was put into her hair with so much love by her parents, has been right through all her experiences, the good, the bad, the frightening, the scary, the happy times. So that's what we mean by when I said about an object that weaves its way through and represents things. This is the motif, this is the symbol of the bow, and I'll talk about it again on the next page. Okay. We're now coming to the last page of the story, and it has what we call an open ending, which means it doesn't just end suddenly. It leaves questions in your mind, and I want you to ask me the question. I got a letter from Muti and Vati. We miss you so much. Remember to be good and don't forget to write to us. This morning we picked mushrooms and thought about you. We hope to be with you very soon. I hope so too. I put Muti and Vati's letter in my pocket. I kept it and read it every day, even after the war began. So, what are you thinking? What are you wondering about?
Will she get reunited with her parents?
That's the most important question of all, isn't it? Will she be reunited with her parents? The answer is no. No, no, no. You know, the Second World War was a terrible war. Millions and millions of people died in that war, were killed in that war. What do I say? Parents died in Auschwitz. It took about 4 years for Dorothy to get this terrible, terrible news. But and it's a very big but, Dorothy was saved. She went on to live in Scotland with her foster family, and they were very kind to her. They weren't even Jewish. So she didn't actually grow up with a, you know, she knew she was Jewish, but that was about it. So she got married, she had 6 children, and when she had finally finished having her children, she had time, she wrote in my pocket about her experience and her escape. And she used to go around to schools, just like I'm doing, and tell her story, read her book. Eli and I are not related to Dorothy in any way. And she would tell them in the hope that it would never happen again. We know that. Never again. So, you mentioned what's happening now in the story. We've got Dorothy reading the last letter, probably reminiscing and thinking deeply about her family and about her parents. This was the last letter that literally went into her pocket. She could take it out, read it, think about the past. She and the dog. Do you think they are looking out of the window towards the future and the happiness to come? Okay? Do you think they are reminiscing about the future and her mind is wandering, and reminiscing about the past and the mind is wandering and remembering things? Put up your hand if you think they're looking out towards the future. Nobody? Yes, you think so. Yeah. Anyone else? Put up your hand if you think that she and the dog are reminiscing about the past. That's what the feeling is here, the mood. Now, most of you, it's interesting because it's either, isn't it? It's just the way you interpret it. Sometimes I get a class where not one single person thinks one way and everybody thinks it's the other way. But sometimes it's even. It's just how you feel the story is going at this stage. What is she actually doing? Now, you wanted to talk about the what's underneath the dog. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah,
Can't remember the bricks.
Like very dark. I'm just thinking, I think I've already told a lot about it, but looks like it's just a shadow coming off, like of the path. The path is now a shadow. It's showing that the path is a shadow and it's going to be forgotten. But not fully forgotten.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I like that interpretation very much, because this is the brightness of the future for her, but not forgetting the darkness of the past over here, underneath where she's standing.
And the fact that the wall is the bright wall now means she has moved into
the future. Yeah. So that's why the thinking that they're looking out towards the future, as that girl said, plays out very well with the interpretation of this page. So somebody wanted to know about the mushrooms. It was actually, it's a good question, because it was quite a typical pastime for people in Europe to go mushroom picking. It's just the kind of thing they did as a family. And of course these people have been so deprived of food, the mushrooms would become extremely important food for them. So this time, literally, that letter went into her pocket. I want you to just look at her bow. Is it bright and shiny? Yes. So, who's put it in her hair now? The new parents, with just as much of the love. So you have the connection between the past and the present with the bow, connecting the two. The love of the parents, you watch that bow, it showed all her resilience, all her strength that she had to have to endure what she did. It shows the friendship that she received from these new friends. It was glowing when she was dancing with them. It carries a lot of weight in the story, that bow. I just want to recap for everyone the acts of kindness that we saw in the story. If you can remember what they are, just put up your hand.
Okay.
Yes? Yes. One of the acts of kindness was the family member reassuring her. Yes. You have an answer. Yes, the man who rescued that toy dog. And he could have just left it landed on the tracks, but he understood how important it was. Yes.
The food in Holland.
Yes, the food that the Dutch people gave them. Yes.
Calling her a beautiful girl.
Yes, yes, calling a beautiful girl in German, which is her language.
The man died on his knees for her.
Yes, he did. He went down on his knee to face so that she would feel connected to him and not frightened.
The very start where her parents told her that she'll be safe in this other country, this country's not safe anymore,
Yeah.
like that.
Right.
First
So
act.
the kindness of her own parents
Sending her away.
of putting her on that kinder transport to save her life. I mean, she was an only child. Can you imagine what they would have had to go through to do that? And all those other parents. We read there were 10,000 children who were saved. One thing nobody's mentioned, which I think is the most important one of all. One more.
The
Go
children,
back one day.
I've got
Go back one page, please.
I've got one. A new parent.
Yeah, the children, including her.
Yeah. The
They could have
power
shamed
of
her.
friendship.
They could have said, you don't speak
Yes.
English, you're a refugee, you're this, you're
You're
that.
Jewish.
Yep.
Yes, that's the point she makes. That it didn't matter that she was Jewish. That was what that means. So the power of friendship here and being a kind, good friend. You don't know what extraordinary circumstances the person next to you might be going through. So be kind. That could be your motto. And
The parents.
The new parents.
adoptive.
yeah, the new parents and all those other kinder transport new parents who took children in to look after them. Some of them, of course, didn't go to individual families. They went to hostels, they went to live in hotels, they went to live in camps. They were spread out everywhere.
Did
So
some
now
of
let's,
Did some of the children ever reunite with their parents?
those parents who survived,
They did.
yeah. Where Dorrit came from, the little town is called Kassel. Well, it's not so little now, we went there, it's a big city. Where she came from, in that area, there were 3 children on the kinder transport, and they all survived, and they all came back to visit their own town, but their parents, I don't think any of their parents survived. No. What we're going to do now, everyone, is watch a contemporary video. It means it was made now, and it's got the words of the story.
Dorrit Oppenheim was one of thousands of Jewish children who escaped from Nazi-occupied Europe on what became known as the Kindertransport. She was 7.5 when she left Germany. Hundreds of British families agreed to become their foster parents, and over the next 9 months, nearly 10,000 unaccompanied children arrived. Like Dorrit, many would never see their parents again and stayed for the rest of their lives. Dorrit wrote a book about her journey. These are her words. Back at the Hamburg railway station, the train had been waiting. The parents cried. We cried too. On the boat, it was strange sleeping without our parents. A boat full of children escaping from danger. Then it was time to leave the boat. We wore name tags round our necks. I shuffled forward with my eyes closed. At last my feet touched the ground. That's when I started to cry. The train stood ready, taking us to London. Some children had friends or family to meet them. Others looked around for help. There were men with cameras and people holding photographs. Those people had promised to take children into their homes. A man and a woman studied a photograph. The wife touched her husband's arm. Look, the girl with the red ribbon and a big toy dog. That's how they found me. The couple spoke English. All I could say was, I have a handkerchief in my pocket. That's how I began to teach myself. Whenever I learned a new word, I put it in the same sentence. I have a dog in my pocket. I have a house in my pocket. I have a teacher in my pocket. The man and the woman came from Scotland. Everything there was different. In Germany, I couldn't play in our street with the other children because I was Jewish. Now I played with my new Scottish friends, and I had a real dog. Soon I was calling the woman and man Mummy and Daddy. After all, I called my real parents Mutti and Fati. I got a letter from Mutti and Fati. We miss you so much. Remember to be good. We hope to be with you very soon. I hope so too. I put Mutti and Fati's letter in my pocket. I kept it and read it every day, even after the war began.
Yeah, so that's what Doris looked like when she wrote the book. So this is Doris when she was young and she was wearing her red bow. That's her as a young woman, and there she is as an old lady. She passed away in Scotland in 2012 and she was 81. So here she is with her family. Eli colorized these photos for us because of course they would have been in black and white. Her parents, Mutti and Vati, their names were Hans and Gertrude Oppenheim. Oppenheim was her birth name. She married Sim. Here she is as a tiny baby in her parents' arms in Kassel in Germany. That's the name of the city. In 1931 when she was born. So this in 1933, as I mentioned, when the Nazi government took over, they immediately targeted the Jews. And all the repressions they're called, where they weren't allowed to own stores, and I'm sure Mrs. Galanty's told you all that in more detail. Here's Dorothy on the far left. That's her in her classroom before the school was destroyed. Actually at Kristallnacht. Mrs. Galanty, did you mention
Yes,
Kristallnacht?
yeah.
They know about that. That was on the 9th of November 1938. When this local school that Doris went to, and that's her class, those are all her classmates, the Jewish children. The school got burnt down, and there were other things that happened in Kassel. The synagogue was destroyed. That was when her parents made inquiries to have her go and escape on the kinder transport. Yeah, that's what the local synagogue looked like after the fire had been put out. Okay, so the documents that all the children traveled with their information on it, they all had a number, as you all rightly said, 8725 with Dorothy's number. One of the activities that you'll do later with your teacher is the name tag that you'll fill in, just like the children wore around their necks, you'll also do one. Remember when I asked what was in that little suitcase that she brought with? This is her actual suitcase. It's in the Scottish archives now. In those days, children were very often given cutlery with their names engraved on it as gifts when they were born. And her parents put some of that cutlery into the case. It's got Dorothy on it. And also a little red ski cap and her dressing gown and other items. These photos also colorized. We wanted you to see Dorothy, her identity with the red bow. This was her. She liked to wear it. And for those who were wondering what happened to the toy dog, its name was Droll. So she must have kept it for quite a long time because you can see she's an older girl. She doesn't look 7 in that picture. Right, this is what we call juxtaposition. Okay? That means you look at photos or images next to each other and they can be contrasted, or you can look for similarities. So here's a girl from the 1939, round about then, escaping the Second World War. And this is a girl from the Ukraine War in Europe. Last year this photo was taken. Look at the similarities. And this is 85 years apart. Makes you think. Right, Dorothy's journey. How long did it take? So, the train left Hamburg, crossed over Germany, stopped in Holland where they got off and had the picnic. They got back onto the train which took them to the coast. They crossed over to England where they got off and onto a train which took them into the heart of London. How long do you think that journey took? for them and the other children. Anybody?
About 2 days.
2 days?
Few days. Like a month.
Sorry, what did you say?
A few days.
A few days.
Like a month.
A month? Anyone else want to make a
A couple weeks.
couple of weeks? One more?
1 or 2 weeks.
Yeah, it actually took 3 days, so very well done to you. Because sometimes people don't realize that Europe is not very big. And boy, did those trains have to move it backwards and forwards, and the boats as well. They were like shuttle services, trying to get as many children as possible to safety. That is what the boat actually looked like. It was called the Vienna. It's out of commission now, so it's no longer on the seas. But you can see how big it was. So no wonder the children got lost and couldn't find their cabins. These are some of the famous photos that were splashed across the world's newspapers, showing the Kindertransport children arriving, telling people all about the mission. We need your money, your funds, we need volunteers. Here we have King Charles, the King of England. He went to the German Parliament and made this very important speech.
Tomorrow we will once again stand with the people of Germany in solemn remembrance. In Hamburg I will pay my respects at the memorial to the Kindertransport, which 85 years ago saved the lives of more than 10,000 Jewish children from Nazism and gave them safe passage to new lives in Britain.
So you can understand the significance and the importance of the Kindertransport mission, that the king actually made that kind of speech. And then the next day in the pouring rain, he and the queen did go to Hamburg to the memorial. So a memorial is a statue or a monument of some sort to something. This is the one in the Liverpool Street station in London where Dorothy, the train that she was on, came into. If you look closely, you can see all the images of the children and what they're doing. But look at that, there's a violin case as part of the statue. So if you were learning the violin and you could carry it and you were going on the Kindertransport, you could bring it with you. These are other statues around Europe commemorating Kindertransport, and the man who sculpted most of these was actually on the Kindertransport himself. His life was saved. So there's us. We went to the one in London. This is in Germany, in Berlin, in Gdansk, in Poland, in Rotterdam, the Netherlands, in Vienna, in Austria, in Prague, the Czech Republic, and Harwich in England. Okay? Who's he? Paddington. Yes, you recognize him. So, Paddington Bear was created by Michael Bond. He was a little boy, and he used to see Kindertransport children arriving at stations near where he lived. So he decided to dress Paddington, who, don't forget, was a refugee bear from Peru. He dressed him like one of those, carrying the little suitcase with the sticker, wearing the duffel coat, like Dorothy also wore, with the tag around his neck, and the hat on his head. That's where it comes from. These are the Gallimores, the Fred and Sophie, who she went to live with and was so kind to her. There's Dorothy as a young mum with 4 of her daughters in the street. This is when she got married to Andrew, and then they went back to Kassel so that she could see where she came from. And this photo, everyone, this is Dorothy's descendants. These are her children, her grandchildren in Scotland. You saved one life, and you have saved and created a world. Dorothy, let's hear what she sounded like. This is just a snippet.
Can I ask you, Dora, if you had a message for the children who are going to see this film in a year, in 5 years, in 20 years, what would you hope for them?
They need to be brave to stand up to bigotry and not to forget what happened.
Yeah, not to forget what happened. That was her message. Those are her children on the left in Scotland, and there's us when we went to visit them. These are 2 of her grandchildren, Islet and Fraser. I want you to listen to what Fraser has to say to you. So he's got quite a strong Scottish accent, so that's why we put subtitles.
My name is Pedro Seven. I am here because the acts of kindness shown to my grandmother Dora. I want to be kind too and help others feel that they are special and included. So join me in helping make our world a better place.
Yeah, that's the message. Make our world a better place. Be a kind friend, especially. We went to Kassel, where Dorothy had come from, and we went to the plaque where the synagogue used to be, but got burned down. And then there also Stolpersteiner. Those are just pictures to show the adults. I don't think you know. They keep track of where Jewish people lived in the place. Okay. Oh, and yeah, now Dorothy learnt to speak English by pretending to put words in the pocket. Okay. What we're going to do now is just have a little bit of a wriggle. Yeah. A wriggle around. Because we're going to start.
You can stand up if you want to.
Yeah.
Stand up and wriggle, and if you need the bathroom, go now.